All right. So I wanted to spend just a couple minutes today at the start of this call talking about our theme for this school year. We've talked with our students, faculty, and all of you about this notion of service, and we've wanted to make this preeminent in our discussions, in our rhetoric all school year. And we're defining service as self-transcendence through attention to others. I've mentioned this before, but our faculty spent time this summer reading Viktor Frankl's famous work, Man's Search for Meaning. We had a symposium last week where actually Mr. Kirby, the founder of Atlanta Classical, gave a lecture to our entire upper school on this book, and then the students broke out for small group discussions on this work. And it's from Viktor Frankl that we really derive our definition of service. We've talked a little bit about what we mean by self-transcendence, but I have this quotation from an author named Parker Palmer, who wrote a book called To Know As We Are Known, which is a little sort of philosophical meditation on education. And he explains the importance of transcendence. He explains it as being removed, not from yourself or from the world, right? Transcending yourself, it's not about sort of being abstracted from reality, but instead it's to leave behind that hall of mirrors in which the two endlessly reflect and determine one another. What he's describing here are sort of the echo chambers of our own mind, right? Of ourselves or our small social circles where we have our own theories and beliefs of the world just sort of confirm for us over and over and over. And certainly this is something that everyone can fall prey to, including myself, having people around you that are sort of, repeating the same sentiments. And this notion of self-transcendence that we think is achievable through service provides occasion for you to move momentarily beyond yourself, to kind of step outside of your own narrow experience of reality to see life from another perspective. We think that this is uniquely achievable in acts of service to other people. Like this, beyond anything else, is what can give you an experience of the world from a different perspective. But all of this is possible only through attention. And this might seem like the most sort of common sense point. It's a truism. But the way that you sort of initiate an act of service is simply by paying attention. This second quotation that I've got from Viktor Frankl that I want to share with all of you, I think elaborates this perfectly. He writes, "Man constantly makes his choice concerning the mass of present potentialities. Which of these will be condemned to non-being and which will be actualized? Which choice will be made in actuality once and forever, an immortal footprint in the sands of time? At any moment, man must decide, for better or for worse, what will be the monument of his existence." Frankl here is sort of framing every human action as an opportunity to condemn a thing either to non-being through inaction or to actualize something, to make it immortal, right? To create a kind of monument to your own existence. And certainly I think this can sound hyperbolic when you think about the small choices that you make in a day, what to eat for breakfast or where to go for lunch or what kinds of conversations you have. But what this does is that it, I think, offers a person perspective on the significance of every action, every choice that you make. Every time you pick up your phone and decide what you will give your attention to that day, you are creating a kind of monument that will last. And this is something that we talk to our students about a lot. And it's the reason that we want to communicate to them that their attention is sacred, because what you do with your time is determining what things become real in the world, right? If you think of this in the language of folks that are entrepreneurs and founders of businesses, I think they understand this keenly, that they have a limited amount of time, right? And there's opportunity costs everywhere. And whatever they apply their intellect and their imagination to will create from nothing this monument that will be the legacy that they leave behind. We think that this is sort of where service begins. It's in applying your attention to the right thing, which allows you to transcend yourself and create meaning, right? Create a monument to your own existence that you will be proud of. This is the language that we want our students to use when thinking about their own lives. We want them to see the kind of inherent dignity and worth that they hold as human beings who have this creative potential to create things from nothing. I just think this is sort of a beautiful framing for their lives and for their work this school year, and in the immediate future, the service projects that we're going to be doing this school year. Our students, you may have seen this, were actually profiled at the end of last week on a local news station for a variety of acts of service that they were kind of completing across the high school. So certainly we're proud of them and proud of the work of the faculty there and sort of arranging this occasion last week. Anyway, this is our theme enduringly this year, right? Service is self-transcendence through attention to others. So before I get into talking a little bit more about some of our external priorities for the school year, I wanted to make a quick note about our connection to Hillsdale College. In our very first meeting of this school year, our first community call, I described the nature of our affiliation with the Liberty organization, the charter management organization that supports Atlanta Classical with oversight and a variety of back office functionalities from HR to finance to technology, et cetera. So that's a really important relationship that we're cultivating. The other relationship that Atlanta Classical has is with Hillsdale College's K-12 education initiative. Hillsdale is a small college in southern Michigan that, back in probably 2014 began the work of supporting charter schools. Our relationship with Hillsdale is one that is purely voluntary, right? There isn't any kind of monetary remuneration that's linked to this partnership. They, as an organization, basically exist just to support instruction. So, for instance, they have a team of sort of teachers and consultants that came out to Atlanta Classical, I think probably 4 times last school year, with a specific focus on helping our lower school teachers execute their literacy essentials, their phonics program with excellence, and then also our Singapore math program. These are 2 just sort of technical curricula that are challenging to implement well. And so they provide considerable support in this regard. They also have a network of master teachers across all of their schools. They have, some 30-odd schools that are considered member schools. Our own Mr. Sam Clausen is one of these master teachers. Mr. Nugent was a master teacher, as was Ms. Claire Marie Huff. This just kind of elevates their status and gives them space to mentor and onboard new teachers. And it's kind of a leadership opportunity for the best and the brightest in the initiative. Anyway, this is sort of one of the benefits that our connection with Hillsdale offers. They also have a massive 2-week intensive for teachers every summer that they offer completely free of charge. They provide lodging, they provide food, they provide considerable professional development. So again, the connection here is really focused on support and governance, leadership, curriculum, and instruction. But it is not a situation where we are sort of contractually bound to each other by some kind of financial exchange. So it's an affiliation that has really been healthy for us. And I think one that generally has just improved the quality of instruction. But we get questions about this. So I just wanted to kind of frame that up for all of you. Certainly, if you have questions about our relationship with Liberty or with Hillsdale, I'm more than happy to walk you through the kind of the nature of these engagements. Again, the first week I talked a little bit about our priorities for this school year, and I want to focus on these top 2 for our time that we have here today. That is renewing our charter agreement with Atlanta Public Schools for the next 5 years, and investing in student life to create a robust social experience that begins in the classroom and leads to enduring friendships beyond it. We've also talked about maximizing student intervention hours, improving our communication, but I want to talk just a little bit about these first 2 goals today with all of you. So first, our recharter update. So Friday, August 25th, a couple of weeks ago, we submitted our recharter application for this school year, or for the next 5 years, rather. This is something that happens on a 5-year cycle. Every charter school that is within Atlanta Public Schools is up for recharter. We complete a really long document that we then submit to the school board for their review, along with review by the superintendent and the head of charter schools, Matt Underwood. They sort of take that document. We'll have a couple meetings with them where we answer questions, make clarifications as relevant, and then the school board votes on it at the end of, or probably around Christmas. I think sometime in the winter that usually happens. So again, our only sort of deviation from our previous application was asking for a 5% buffer in our enrollment cap in order to increase our enrollment past 698 and to get it closer to 733. And I'll explain why actually here in a couple of minutes. I have a graphic that sort of shows the effect of our middle school expansion over the last 3 years. And this is why we think that we're likely to kind of go past our enrollment cap in the near term. Anyway, this document got submitted. I'm proud of the work that we did, and we feel really confident, and I've received great feedback from Matt Underwood, who sort of oversees this review on APS's side. So certainly as more updates come up, I'll provide those quickly to all of you, but we're confident and proud of the work that the team put together to prepare for recharter. Now, I wanted to walk through kind of some of the components of our effort to really energize student culture. This is something that we've received a lot of feedback from you all about, frankly, and something that we think about a lot as a school. Atlanta Classical offers a challenging academic program. This is one of the reasons that parents choose us, right? They want a curriculum that is worthy of the minds and the hearts of their children. They want them reading great books. Certainly, I think the trend in education broadly is away from great text. Certainly, the National Council for Teachers of English put out guidelines 2 years ago that made the argument that books and essay writing should be decentered at the heart of English education, for instance. And they were, offering sort of media studies and other things as an alternative to this. We resist that. We think that at the heart of what we do ought to be the reading and the discussion of great works of philosophy, history, and literature. And certainly this carries over into our math and science work as well. We want our curriculum to be engaging and challenging, and for students to legitimately be able to cultivate virtues of perseverance and self-government as they work through challenging work. But we know that there's also an importance in achieving balance, particularly as students get into the upper school. And many of our upper school parents have engaged us productively in conversation about how we continue to create a positive and supportive culture that really leads to us fulfilling our mission. And so we've taken a couple of really practical steps this school year kind of toward that end that I want to run through with all of you. One is sort of an expansion and a formalization of our student club programs. So I want to take just a quick look at this with you all. I think you guys can see this right now. This is a catalog of our clubs for the 23-24 school year. We've got lower school clubs that are combined for lower school and upper school, and then our upper school specific ones. But we've got this sort of expansive list of offerings that run from board and card game club in the lower school. We've got a pickleball club, which is very popular, a sign language club, which is brand new this year, the Marble, which is one of my favorites. This is our literary magazine in the lower school. There is no shortage of submissions and excitement around reviewing those submissions. In the upper school, we've got everything from a grill club to a Dead Poets Society to a mock trial team that actually is more of a debate club this year, which I'm incredibly excited about. This is one that the school is investing kind of special energy and resources toward in order to get off the ground. So for any upper school parents sort of on this call, please ask your child if they have at least considered our debate club. This is going to be formalized this year. They'll actually be competing in events. We've hired a coach. This is just an area where I think that Atlanta Classical stands to be excellent. And I want to just really be investing in the school's resources toward promoting this particular effort because it so beautifully aligns with our mission and purpose as an institution. But we've also got a fit club, a hiking club, et cetera. So much credit needs to go to Miss Rebecca Coons and to David Rosenzweig and to Mr. Nugent and others kind of across the school that put some effort into formalizing this process and streamlining the way in which students can access these and sign up. But please take a moment and review these offerings, and make sure that your kids, if they're interested, are signing up for these. Another thing that actually began 3 years ago is our middle school expansion. This is what I was talking about. For those of you that are looking at the video here, I've got a graphic here of the size of grades 6 through 8 from the 2021 school year through this school year. So one thing that I'll acknowledge up front, I've done something very confusing, which is describe 6th through 8th grade as middle school. This is an error on my part. Our middle school is 7th and 8th grade. 6th grade is always considered a transitional year. I can hear some of you laughing behind the screen as you've asked me questions about this before, and here I've confused everyone again. Our middle school is our 7th and 8th grade. We do that very intentionally. We treat 6th grade as a really important training year. Students go between 3 teachers instead of 6 or 7, which they'll have when they get into the middle school. But a few years ago, we decided that we wanted to expand the size of 6th through 8th grade to go from 2 sections of probably 27 students to 3 sections of 22 students. What this would create is an opportunity for students to enroll in the school earlier than in high school, and to give them kind of a longer runway before they get into the challenging academic program that 9th grade involves. It also gives us a larger base of students going into high school in order to ensure that we have a full and robust population of students in the high school, which is really important to us. So it used to be, again, in 2020, 2021, that we would have 54 students. You see in the 21-22 school year that we added 62 students in the 6th grade, and that group sort of continues through all the way to this year. So again, 3-4 years ago, we had 163 students in grades 6 through 8. This year, we have our largest population ever. We have 196 students. So we have 66 kids in 6th grade, 66 in 7th grade, and 64 in 8th grade. This, again, is why we asked for an enrollment expansion from Atlanta Public Schools, because as this group matriculates through high school, it's going to create just a larger group of students, a stronger base that we'll be sort of building from. We think this is actually one of the most important cultural efforts of the school. In order for students to have just a joyful experience of high school, we want to make sure that we are creating, a network of friends and full classrooms for students to have the best experience possible. So anyway, this is just a little sort of numerical summary of how our grades 6 through 8 have expanded over the last 3-4 years. We also, of course, have implemented a house system, which I think all of you have heard much about. I'll linger on this slide only to tease the house retreat, which is going to happen on November 2nd through 4th up at Camp Highland. This is for our 7th and 8th grade students. We also had, I'm going to just jump forward to our 6th grade retreat, which happened at the very beginning of the school year, along with our retreat for our 9th grade students. Again, I'll just sort of connect this back to feedback that we're getting from parents about the importance of creating just an experience that is well-rounded and balanced for our students. We think that for kids to do the challenging work, they need to have a kind of foundation of joy and connection with their classmates in order to facilitate the best possible conversations in the classroom. And this is why we began this year with retreats for our 6th grade and 9th grade students. Another thing that we've started this school year is meetings with every single one of our 6th grade and 9th grade parents. So every 6th grade parent will meet with Mr. Nugent, every 9th grade parent will meet with Mr. Sheps, and every kindergarten student, every new kindergarten student, which is all of them, meets with Dr. Hahn. We started this in order just to create a point of connection for you all as you transition to different components of the school. Right, going into 6th grade is a really important year as you kind of leave some of the formal structures of the elementary school and begin to transition into upper school, which is why we think a conversation with the admin team is important. And same thing with 9th grade. As high school begins, we wanted to create space for every single one of our high school parents or to sit down with Mr. Sheps and to learn the philosophy of our work and what we have in store for your students and their time at Atlanta Classical. Dr. Hahn actually started doing this last year with our kindergarten students. And I think from the success of those conversations, we've decided to expand this initiative. So if you're in one of these grades, kindergarten, 6th or 9th, please look out for an email from one of those leaders. I will be meeting with every single new family that falls outside of these bands. So whether they're students in 1st, 2nd, 7th, 8th, 10th grade, I'm setting up individual meetings to welcome these new families to our school. But we think this is an important part of sharing our story and telling parents a little bit more about our mission and sort of the intentions that we have behind our work in the classroom and outside of it. Another really important cultural element that's new as of this year is creating deans of student life with particular focus in grades 6 through 12. So we have Mr. Bryant Holt that oversees our house system, Ms. Christy Yonker that has her eyes on the middle school student life in particular, and then Mr. Garrett Holt and Ms. Claire Marie Huff, who are our kind of high school deans of student life, but really are giving special attention to our 9th and 10th grade students, onboarding them and supporting them. Just last week, we had a team of probably 15 teachers, support staff, administrators that were meeting with students on Tuesday to do an executive functioning support hour for new students in particular. We had probably a 1-to-1 ratio of students and teachers. One, amazing for students to show up and take advantage of this opportunity to get their notebooks and their texts organized in preparation for the year. And also really proud of our faculty for showing up to support these kids. And these are the kinds of initiatives that our deans are leading in order to onboard students and then create the best possible experience for students that have been here for a long time. So I share all of this information sort of in summary to give you all perspective on the way that Atlanta Classical aims to be responsive to the needs of our families and to the needs of our students. We really do believe that the classroom is where friendship begins. I think this is something that is really unique about our model. We think that kind of the structures and the texts themselves occasion conversation where students will tell the truth about themselves and make sense of the world that is really difficult to do outside of the classroom when you're behind your phone or just even in more casual engagements with your friends. But we think that our teachers, one of their responsibilities is to help students sort of tell their own story and to come to know each other in deeper and more profound ways through the curriculum itself. We don't actually see these two initiatives of the school as separate, so certainly don't mean to communicate that today. We think that the development of our culture and the development of our curriculum and academic ambitions really need to be interlocked. These two things are absolutely complementary, and the work that happens in the classroom is going to lead to kind of joyful Friday night experiences. So a final thing that we've launched here are a series of sort of high school socials that will happen more casually throughout this year. I think we've got one planned for most months. We've got one coming up in the near term. I'll review it when I look at the Legenda with all of you. But again, thankful for the work that our deans are doing in making all of this possible and making sort of the social life of the school more vibrant and joyful. So I do want to take a moment here and review our Legenda. I think you all can see my screen. There's a lot that's coming up in the life of the school over the next week or so. This is last week's Legenda, so I'll skip forward and talk about a few kind of critical items. Supper on the South Lawn is next Friday. This is always one of our best events and best attended. There is some very exclusive 10-year anniversary merchandise that will be for sale. So, beat down Miss Kuhn's door to get this. We're also really happy that Das Barbecue has partnered with us to offer meals at cost. So meals for Supper on the South Lawn are only going to be $6 a piece. So we're thrilled that this is going to be so affordable and to make this as accessible as possible for all of our families. A couple other big events that are coming up. Grandparents' Day. We need registration to be done by September 15th. Friday, September 22nd at 9 a.m. is the actual date of that. But this is going to be a kind of one of our best events of the fall. So if you have grandparents that are interested in coming, please encourage them to our RSPV and secure a spot. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, we've got our lower school back to school event that will run from 6 to 7:30. Parents, you'll hear from Dr. Hahn and a variety of members of our lower school team. We've also got our Donuts with Dads event, which is also always a crazy and sugar-fueled event. our teachers really hate this, I think, to have a horde of lower school students charging into their classrooms hyped up on donuts. I don't think they get coffee. I hope they don't, unless they sneak it. Couple other events just to preview over the next couple weeks. The upper school back to school event is actually going to happen in the morning next Wednesday, September 13th. Our first formal day for the upper school is tomorrow. And we're also launching upper school tutoring on Wednesday. Please, if you have a child that is struggling in any way academically or even just needs additional support, please make contact with us. We've got a team of tutors that are both ACA teachers and then a variety of upperclassmen from Georgia Tech who have been working with us for a while that really do just an excellent job supporting kids across a variety of subjects. So great opportunity for a kid to get extra help if they need it. I'll also just briefly preview some college visits that are coming up. So we had Hillsdale College here last week. Agnes Scott is going to be here tomorrow. Berry College will be here next Wednesday. Rollins College and then Dartmouth will be here next Friday. This is something that happened when we had our very first graduating class, but we've got a massive number of colleges from local universities to Ivy League institutions, to schools across the country, West Coast and the Midwest, that are kind of coming through doing presentations for our students. And the opportunity that every one of our kids has is meeting with college reps, oftentimes on a ratio of just 3 or 4 kids in the room for one college admissions counselor. And so if you have a student that is dead set on admission to, say a place like, University of Chicago or St. Andrews or, Vanderbilt College or places like this, your student then is going to have an opportunity to sit down and make eye contact and have a kind of personal exchange with these admission counselors. And this is made possible just by the size of our senior class, but also just the intentional work that Ms. Sarah Dolliker, Ms. Kayla Beth Moore, Dr. Jordan, Mr. Matt Flynn. We have a massive college advising team that exists to support our students as they matriculate into university or kind of other professional endeavors after high school. So really excited about those college visits. Okay. Well, that is my time for today. Thanks so much for being part of this call. And I look forward to talking to you all next week. All right. Thanks, everybody.